Now, defending Israel and criticising Islam can be a dangerous and difficult task in much of Europe. Some people, however, are up to it, and one of the best is author and columnist Douglas Murray, Associate Director of the Henry Jackson Society. He joins us from London. Welcome to you, my friend.
Great to be with you again, Michael.
Now, let's talk about your experience, first of all, because you have had some run-ins, and it can be quite intimidating when there's a lot of pressure, and some Muslim groups, they just assemble groups of their supporters, quite thuggish at times. They're trying to intimidate, aren't they?
Of course, that's the aim, that they shut down debate, basically. You hear a lot about censorship, you hear a lot about people shutting down debate, but this is a really good effort. Generally are intimidated by physical intimidation, and Islamists are pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt frightened, intimidated? Have you thought there is a genuine, tangible threat to you?
On very few occasions, but yes, I mean, one notable one was a few years ago when a notable hate cleric in the UK called Anjem Choudhury was due to debate me in London, and I said I would debate him. We were going to debate Sharia law, and I was rather looking forward to it, I have to say. He's not hard to debate on the matter, being a fundamentalist and a lunatic, really. But I turned up to debate him and was called by the police beforehand to say I shouldn't come, because it turned out that the terrorist group called Al-Mujahirun, who had not then been banned, had completely taken over the event. It was the group that Anjem Choudhury, the man in question, led. And there were about 100, 150 Islamist thugs who had tried to separate men and women in the hall. It turned out that the so-called security guards were Al-Mujahirun thugs. They assaulted a colleague and apparently were intending to do something similar to me. So the police called me and asked me not to come. I did come. I fortunately had some protection, but I turned up and I said in the street I would debate their leader there or anywhere, and was very happy to do so because their ideas don't stand up for a second. The interesting thing that's happened since then, or happened last week, is that one of the people who was facing me down there, standing alongside Anjem Choudhury, was the ringleader of a group of 9 men who last week at the High Court in London were found guilty of a plot to try to blow up the London Stock Exchange and murder a number of individuals, including the Mayor of London and some rabbis in London. And so it was, to some extent, a sobering reminder of the type of people we're dealing with.
Yes. Now, this is a very good point, because thugs are one thing, and we've all faced some people who want to silence us and control us. But these are more serious. Many of them, at least, if not most, many of them have a link at a certain level with organized terrorism. They are serious, violent people. And I've just been reading some of the accounts of this trial. They said they didn't want to be suicide bombers because they wanted a more long-term career in terrorism.
Yes, suicide bombing is a dying profession, as the old joke goes, and it's a one-go-once kind of thing. And yes, these people certainly wanted to have more of a career of it. The interesting thing is that these people do what they say, and it's very hard to explain this to some people. Anjem Choudhury's group do what they say. The encounter that we had with this man, who's now turned out to have been the ringleader of this latest terrorist cell, it was interesting. I said to Choudhury, I remember at the time, I said, you know, your group should be shut down. We've worked it out at my organisation that 1 in 6 people in the UK convicted of terrorism-related offences have been members of your group. It's more popular than Al-Qaeda for British Islamists wanting to go on and commit acts of terrorism. So they should be shut down. I remember Anjem Choudhury said to me, no, that's a lie. I said, well, are the Crown Prosecution Service liars? He said, yes. I said, are the police liars? He said, yes. I said, are all the lawyers and judges liars? He said, yes. And I said, nobody's guilty at all. He said, and he said to me, he said, looked me straight in the eye and said, no Muslim is ever guilty. And it was such a startling, bizarre thing to say that a lot of people sort of found it almost laughable. I did myself, to tell the truth. But as I have always said, these things are funny, and indeed some of these figures like Choudhury are funny right up until the moment that a bomb goes off, when it becomes very unfunny indeed. And this is a big problem, I think, for our societies, in Canada and Britain and in all of our societies, which is, on the one hand, not to be so terrified that people don't speak up, say what they think, and have fair and free, open discussion, On the other hand, not to think these people don't mean it, because they do. And they keep on showing time and again that they do.
Mm-hmm. I think this is an extremely important point, because at least since the triumph of fascism in the 40s, even during the Cold War, we assumed a certain level of consensus in terms of right, wrong, and truth and lie. The Soviets lied, but they knew they were lying, and they couldn't quite look you in the eye. But today, when it comes to radical Islam, it's a different language, it's a different conversation, a different context. Yet many people in the West seem extremely gullible. They still want to treat people as gentlemen when they're anything but.
Yes, I've always said that the single most impenetrable idiocy of our age is the thing we constantly hear from Islamists, who say to us, say my religion is peaceful, or I'll kill you. And if you can't get the irony in that, if it's not explainable, if it's not understandable to you, then it's very hard, as you say, to knock through a wall of complete incomprehension like that. But wider society, of course, does understand that. And that's our best hope. And that's why Islamists are so intelligent, in a way, in realizing that if you shut down debate, if you intimidate, if you stop open discussion happening, that is the only conceivable way in which they'll win, because there's no way they can win in the battle of ideas if it's fought in the open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. The same applies to North America. The majority of people know that they're actually extremely sensible. But if you like, the chattering classes, mainstream media, and I hate to use these terms, but that they are constantly, and I don't think it's even naivety, they want to be, it seems, seduced by the other side.
Yes, I mean, it's that fantastical sense that Westerners have now, that if somebody says they hate you, then it's probably your fault. Yeah. And they probably have a reason for it. It's the allure of everything other than something you might call your own. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's an extraordinary disease.
Yes, it is. Well, white guilt is a terrible thing to waste. Douglas, as always, a great pleasure. Thank you so much, and please take care of yourself.
Great to be with you.